posted on the township website and its bulletin board in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Now, can I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Roll call, Marissa. Please.
Landon Teneri,
Yes.
Michael Josephic,
Yes.
Michael Leondi,
Yes.
Richard Rohrbacher,
Yes.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. And this is for zoning board planner contract negotiations. Order. This meeting is being live streamed on YouTube. Also, no new testimony or applications to be heard after 9:30 PM, and we adjourn at 10 PM sharp. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided in the New Jersey Herald. It was also posted on the Sparta Township website and its bulletin board in accordance with all provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. Please rise and join us, salute the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and justice for all.
Marissa, please call the roll.
Landon Teneri,
Here.
Michael Joseph.
Here.
Michael Leondi,
Here.
Richard Rohrbacher,
Here.
Chairman Kenneth Larry,
Here. We have
Louis
a few-
Carp,
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. We have a few resolutions to be memorialized. First one is Lindsay Knight, Zoning Board appointment for planner. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Marissa, please call the roll.
Lana Teneri,
Yes.
Michael Joseph,
Yes.
Michael Leondi,
Yes.
Richard Rohrbacher,
Yes.
You need to do the chair.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes.
Sorry.
Next one is application 619, 711, block 2016, lot 1, 12, and 13, extension of time, which was decided on February 26, 2025. Please call the, have a motion to memorialize that.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? Marissa, please call the roll.
Lana Teneri,
Yes.
Michael Joseph,
Yes.
Michael Leondi,
Yes.
Richard Rohrbacher.
Yes.
Next resolution is 12-24, Sussex County Charter School. For D variance decided on February 26, 2025. The chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? Marissa, please call the roll.
Lana Teneri,
Yes.
Michael Joseph,
Yes.
Michael Leondi,
Yes.
Richard Rohrbacher,
Yes.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. The last one is application 13-23, Dor Anderson, decided on February 26, 2025 for D variance. Chair will entertain a motion.
So move.
Second, please.
Second.
Wake up.
Any discussion?
One
Rick-
stupid question real quick.
Sure.
This is to memorialize the resolution that turns down.
9.
Okay, that's all I needed to make sure of. It's what I thought we were doing, but just to make sure.
Marissa, please call the roll.
Michael Joseph,
Yes.
Richard Rohrbacher,
Yes.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. And we'll approve the minutes to September 11th minutes, 2024. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? Marissa, please call the roll.
Michael Joseph,
Yes.
Lana Teneri,
Yes.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. And we also have the January 8, 2025 minutes to be approved. The chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? Marissa, please call the roll.
Lana Teneri,
Yes.
Michael Joseph,
Yes.
Michael Leondi,
Yes.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. Okay, we also have our new planner for a brief presentation that she's so kind to make tonight. And I'll open the floor to Lindsay Knight.
All right, so we are going to go through kind of an introduction to D variances, and specifically, we're going to go through the D1, D2, and then just some case law that's applicable to these variances. So what is a D variance? I'm sure you guys, if you've been on the board, you know it's a form of relief from local zoning ordinances, and the MLUL, or the municipal land use law, kind of lays out the standards for D variances, and that D is what stands for the section of the MLUL. So I kind of bolded it at the end. It's 4055D-70. So that's where, when you hear D, that's where it's coming from. Only the Zoning Board of Adjustment can grant a D variance. It requires 5 affirmative yes votes for approval. And it's important to note that that counts for if you only have 5 members there. If you have 6 members there, 7 members, it's always going to be 5. So you might have instances where an applicant is required to have those 5 votes, and there's only 5 members of the board there, and that you might wish to carry their application. An application will never go to both the planning board and zoning board. The application will have to be, the zoning officer will be the person who determines what board it goes to. And usually, or always, D variances are going to end up here at the zoning board. So it could be a subdivision with a D variance, but it will be at the zoning board for that variance. The standards of proof are much tougher than a C variance. D variances are looked at in a much more serious way because a lot of the impacts from the D variances are much larger, much bigger to the community. And it's important to note as well that every application must be looked at individually and independently. You can't look at a similar application that happened 2 years ago and make a decision based on that. You have to look at the facts that are presented with each case.
Excuse me, Lindsay, just for the public, our new planner is just making a brief presentation to the board and the public. I just wanted you to be aware that once she's finished, we'll have the applications start. Okay? Thank you. Go ahead, Lindsay.
So there's 6 types of D variances. We're only going to touch on the first 2, which are going to be use related. D1 is a use or principal structure that is not permitted in the zone. That will always be the principal structure. Accessory structures do not rise to a D1. D2 is an expansion of an existing nonconforming use. D3 is a deviation from a specification or standard pertaining to conditional uses. If you look in your ordinance, you'll see a conditional use typically has a number of items that it has to be applied to, and if it doesn't meet that, then it will end up being a D3 variance. D4, D5, and D6 are going to be related to the actual structure. D4 is an increase in the permitted FAR, or floor area ratio. D5 is an increase in the permitted density. D5, it's important to note as well that that is not going to be applicable to 1 and 2 families. Sometimes you'll see dwelling units need to have X amount of square feet per acre. And if it doesn't meet that for a single family or a 2 family, that is an increase in density, but in the case of D variances, it doesn't rise to a D5. Single family and 2 family are exempt. D6 is an increase in the permitted maximum height, either by 10 feet or 10% of what is permitted. So we'll jump right into D1. That's the zoning ordinance, lists the permitted principal uses in each zoning district. Typically, that's kind of the first part of the zoning ordinance for a district. An application involving an accessory structure that is not permitted will not rise to the level of a D variance. And then, for example, if a doctor wishes to practice out of his home, which is located in a residential zone, the zoning ordinance prohibits businesses in the residential zone. Therefore, that D1 use variance will be applicable in this case. D2 is an expansion of an existing non-conforming use. Non-conforming is defined by the MLUL as it could be something that was lawful prior to the adoption or revision or amendment of a zoning ordinance, but it fails to form to the requirements of the zoning district in which it is located. So that could be something that maybe had previously gotten an approval from the board, or in the instances of zoning amendments or revisions or a change in your zoning map cause it to now be an existing non-conforming condition. So for an example, a 2-family residential dwelling is located in a single-family residential zoning district that prohibits 2-family dwellings. The applicant proposes an addition to that 2-family dwelling that is existing non-conforming that will require a D2 use variance as they are enlarging the non-conforming use. So D variances require special reasons to be approved, and that is kind of a legal term from the MLUL. The applicant must satisfy the positive criteria required for a D variance, and the special reasons means the property is particularly suited for the proposed use, and this can be shown in 3 different ways, which I'll go into the next one, so there won't be any mystery on that. The negative criteria must also be addressed, and that is basically saying that you can approve this and it's not going to cause substantial detriment to the public good. It's not going to impair the intent of your zoning ordinance or your municipal master plan. I recently had an application where somebody was proposing a 3-family in a zone that their master plan re-exam looked at this zone district. They decided that 3 families were causing too much density in that area. So about 5 years ago when they did their re-exam, they noted that that zone should be changed, it should be amended. They should no longer permit 3 families, so only 1 and 2 families. And then somebody came forward to the board with a 3-family application. That's an example of it no longer being in line with the master plan or the intent of the zoning ordinance. So the special reasons are, the first one is going to be an inherently beneficial. You'll hear that probably thrown around quite a bit. And that is meant to be a use that is promoting the welfare of the community. And it's supposed to be universal value for the community. So a hospital, school, daycare, things like that. Uses that provide jobs, services, products, and recreation usually are not going to be deemed inherently beneficial. So if somebody comes forward with an indoor turf facility for soccer, that's not going to be considered an inherently beneficial use because it's not actively helping the entire community. It's not universal. The next piece for a special reason is the site is particularly suited and the municipality will benefit by placing the building or use where it is proposed, despite the local zoning prohibiting it. A prerequisite is showing other locations in the surrounding area are not suitable for the use. So it has to be a reason that this specific lot is meant for this specific use, even though the zoning doesn't allow for it. And finally is undue hardship. So that's saying that if the property was to be used exactly conforming to the zoning ordinance, the applicant is going to suffer an undue hardship. So seek a test. I threw this one in there for you. So this is typically used with inherently beneficial uses. And there's 4 parts to it. So you're identifying the public interest at stake, determining the benefits that are proposed. Next, you're going to identify any detrimental effects. Next, you consider the mitigation. You explore ways to mitigate or reduce the identified detrimental effects through conditions or modifications. And then finally, you balance and decide. So you weigh the public interest against the potential negative impacts as mitigated. So it's that balancing. Is allowing this going to be better than not allowing it? Are the negatives outweighing the benefits? So that's where it's also sometimes called the balancing test. And then we'll go into some case law. Medici is kind of the big one. And that is the Supreme Court upholding the showing of the positive criteria as site-specific, peculiarly fitted at the particular location for which the variance is sought. So as I said earlier, that's one of the things that you have to identify. Is this use suited for this property? Sometimes you'll see like in certain zones, like an outlier lot, that sometimes this can be applicable to. The court concluded that the property for which a motel and restaurant were proposed was not particularly suitable for the development. And they thought this because it was located on a highway interchange and there were many other areas on the highway interchange. So the other properties were then also near the interchange. So how was this one so specific that that use should be permitted when there's multiple other sites, right? It doesn't have that uniqueness of this is particular for this specific block and lot. So in determining this fact was insufficient to show, it didn't show the particular suitability. The court stated that the development of the site in the community is particularly appropriate for that very enterprise. So kind of really nailing in that this was a highway interchange, multiple properties could have had a motel and restaurant. It wasn't just that property was not unique enough for that use. So additional case law is funeral home management versus Basralian. It's the appellate division held that the subject property was not particularly suitable for a funeral home because the board made no finding that a funeral home use was not available in other locations in the area, or indeed that there was a community need for such use. So that was their professionals didn't come to the board with information saying that this was the particular site for it, that they didn't prove that there weren't any other locations where it could be located. The court found particular suitability exists where generally the use is one that would fill in a need of general community, where there's no other viable location, and where the property itself is particularly well fitted for the use, either in terms of its location, topography, or shape. So that kind of, once again, going back to why a property could be particularly suited for a use. Do you guys have any questions?
Thank you for the presentation, Lindsay. Usually we open the hearing to the public for comments and questions not on the agenda
Sure.
tonight, but the public can just bear with us another 5-10 minutes. I'm going to open it to the public now since our planning board chairwoman Joan Furman is here tonight. And Joan, I think you were going to have a few questions or comments, or not? If so, please come
Hi,
forward.
Joan.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Lindsay, and thank you, Ken,
welcome.
for having the foresight to, be thinking about these things. We face many of the same issues, of course, and it does get very confusing at times. But I do have a question as I was listening, and I'm sorry I walked in a little bit late for this, but the Medici is mostly based on a conditional approval, right? Like if it's you have a permitted use, a conditional use, and prohibited use. So if it's that's conditional use, what would be the difference if it's a prohibited use in terms of the negative aspects that have to be met? Do you have to meet all negative aspects?
Yeah, so you would have to prove that that it's not going to be detrimental to your ordinance or your master plan, right? So, I mean, if it's something that is explicitly stated as prohibited, and then, for example, what I was saying earlier about the master plan re-examining, identifying that the 3 families were too much density, and they specifically said it in their re-exam, and then amended their ordinance based on that re-exam, that I think pretty clearly says that they don't want it, right? So from a planning standpoint, if I was to take on that client, I wouldn't, because, it very much says it in your planning documents that that's something that is not wanted. So in the case of the negative criteria, I think it would be extremely difficult to prove that it's not going to cause a negative impact when your planning documents explicitly say that they do not want that use.
Yeah, I was just curious about the difference between the conditional and the prohibited.
Yeah, yes. So the conditional use is slightly different, right? It's permitted if you meet these conditions. And if you don't meet those conditions, then you still need that D variance, that D3 variance. And you still need to show that, you need to still show the positive criteria and the negative criteria to why you can't meet those conditions. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'd like to be able to do more with each other as we go forward too, because we do we'll get applications that maybe you heard originally and then we get and vice versa. So it's just good to keep lines of communications open, but thank you for having us.
Thank you, Chairwoman Furman. Lindsay, thank you too for your presentation, and this board looks forward to working with you.
Yes, thank you. I look forward to working with you as well.
Good luck with the assignments of the Planning Board, Master Plan Subcommittee, and now this board.
Yes, I'll be busy. I'll be spending some time here.
Board-
I
Hi,
had one other question. Could you define undue
what's
hardship?
your name, sir?
Robert Otto?
Robert Otto from the Planning
Yep,
Board.
yeah. Undue hardship, you mentioned that. Is there a definition?
There is a definition. I don't know the definition off the top of my
Well, if you
head,
don't
but
know
yeah,
it.
yeah.
If you don't know.
I'll
it,
get
then
back
I
to you.
Thanks. Or anyone else in the public? No? Okay, that's it, Lindsay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight and everything you did here tonight.
Yeah.
Now, for the public hearing, we have the following applications. 3-23, John Maselli and Rocco Ciafulo, 513 Elm Road, Block 32004, lots 2, 3, 4, and 5 are to C variance. And we have the application 423, John Maselli, Rocco Ciafulo, 2-8 Elm Road, Block 32006, lots 5, 6, 7, and 8, C variance. And then we'll have the application 15-24, Nancy Hotkins, for C variance relief, Block 28002, Lot 12. So, John Maselli, Rocco Ciafulo, please come forward. And this is a continuation from the hearing.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
How are you? Nice to see you.
Again, Harold P. Cook III here on behalf of the applicants who are with us, and we have our engineer.
And sir, as you probably are aware, we'll let you complete your application
Right.
before we open it to the board and to our planner. Okay?
Fantastic.
Thank you.
And the engineer was sworn 2 months ago when we were here. So do you want to re-swear him or?
That's okay. Just want to confirm that your license is still active and valid? Yes, sir. Thank you.
as of this afternoon, anyway.
And you continue to be under oath from last time.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we received the memo or letter from Harold E. Pellet Associates, and I'm gonna have our engineer go through it. There's nothing in that letter that the applicant will not comply with, and we'll address each item if the board requires. And I think one of the issues, I don't want to jump ahead, but I want to get it out there. One of the issues was who's going to maintain the area of the road around the property, and we propose that the applicant does that, and we put in a deed to run in perpetuity with the land, that in the event the property is sold, the successor in title assumes that responsibility.
You'll have to have a microphone.
Borrow
You
that
can
one.
take the one from the stand over there, sir.
Am I blocking the board, or you guys can see the? Good evening, board, or good evening. I'm just going to be very brief. So we submitted
Please
revised.
Just state your name first so we have it
Sure.
on the record. Who's
Legal
talking?
name is Giovanni, Giovanni. Last name Manilio, Manilio, with Manterra Design.
Giovanni, you made revisions to the plans since the last time we were here. You submitted those revisions to the board, correct?
Correct. Yep. We submitted plans and a response letter back at the end of February of this year. I'll just go briefly on the changes to the plans, which were minor in nature. So one of the items that we revised, we heard loud and clear from the board and from the fire official. We changed the road, which was gravel originally, which is now going to be a full depth pavement cross section. So that's one of the changes that we're proposing, and that driveway will attach from both ends of the project. Additionally, we added a site triangle at the corner of Washington and Elm, and that's been added to the plans. And I believe there were some other minor changes to the plans per the last review letter. And that's it as far as plan revisions. I know we did receive 2 new letters, one for both 2 to 8 Elm Road and the other one for 5 to 13 Elm Road. And I could go through them briefly, or if you like, I mean, we went through all the comments and we have no issues complying with all the comments in Mr. Simmons' letter of April 1st, 2025.
Giovanni, the one comment, which I guess requires an answer rather than we will comply, is maintenance responsibility of Elm Road in the area of the subject property must be established.
Yep, that is correct. So the applicant did reach out to the lake community and to the association. They had stated that the practices that the maintenance is on the actual property, so it has to be filed with the deed, and it carries with the property into any subsequent owners. So we'll agree to that. Open up to
Any other testimony?
We have nothing else.
Okay, we'll open it to our board engineer, David, if you're so kind.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The 2 reports are very similar. I'll go through the one of April 1st, 2025 for number 03-23. That's block 32004, lots 2, 3, 4, and 5 at 5 to 13 Elm Drive. Page 1 of the report and the top is basically just a summary of the revised information and previous information that we received. Under zoning, basically, there was discussion about the variances that are needed on this particular lot. Again, the applicant provided background data on front yard setback 50 feet required, 20 feet proposed for variance, rear yard setback 50 feet minimum required, 31.9 feet or 28 feet to the rear steps by scaling variance required, and the lot area, 25,000 square feet minimum required, and what they were able to accumulate together is 19,000 square feet, which requires a variance. Again, a planning variance is required because it is a private road. And I indicated that under item 2D, I recommend a deed be provided to consolidate the lots as called for on the variance map. And with regards to maintenance and repair of Elm Road, as the applicant indicated earlier this evening, they were going to record a deed where the property owner was responsible for maintaining, repairing, and what have you, Elm Road. I believe that'll be on both sides of Elm Road because they basically have an application on both sides. So presumably, subject to the board council addressing it differently, that cost will probably be split 50-50, if that's the applicant's intent. So it's memorialized in the county clerk's office in perpetuity, so that anyone that purchases that property knows what their obligations are, in order to make sure emergency vehicles and what have you can get through there in accordance with the municipal land use law. With regards to storm drainage, they did call for on this particular lot, as well as on the other side of Elm Road, dry wells for mitigating the increase in impervious coverage because of the driveway and the dwelling that's being proposed. I just had a couple comments on there regarding the soil logs and permeability tests, and also putting a solid cover on the dry well so that it doesn't get overcharged from anything other than the intended drainage area of the roof. And then on architectural plans, will there be any HVAC unit? And I believe that was negative. There wasn't going to be. Or did
No,
that change?
I believe the testimony at the last meeting was that there will be AC units, but it will be on the opposite side of the closest dwelling. So,
Stand corrected on that.
yeah, and we'll show those on the revised plans. So on both properties, there's a larger side yard. That's the one it will be on, not the one.
Thank you.
Yep.
Soil erosion and sediment control plans, they'll have to take care of that. That'll be one of the, if the board acts favorably, that'll be one of the permits they needed. With regards to utilities, they're proposing a new well to serve this dwelling, plus the dwelling on the other side of the road. They're proposing a septic system. Again, they'll have to get the permits for that. And with regards to the aerial utilities, they'll have to expend the costs necessary to bring those utilities down Elm Road in order to be close enough for the utility companies to provide service for the dwellings. That'll be up to them and their expense. With regards to the Elm Road plans, the road plans on both sides of the road do in fact now reflect a 2-inch bituminous concrete surface course, 4 inches of bituminous concrete stabilized base, and 6 inches of dense graded aggregate for a width of 20 feet. And when they did receive the report back from the fire marshal, fire department representatives, 20 feet is what they wanted for the minimum, so that is being satisfied. And they're basically constructing it between Deerfield Road and Washington Drive, which are also both paved roads. So now when they go to get the snow plowed and what have you and access, they're coming off of a paved road. We talked about maintenance responsibility, and an environmental impact statement was not submitted, but they are addressing storm drainage, and they are addressing the septic and the well, which will go through the county health department. And as far as this particular lot goes, they need the county health department approval for well and septic, the fire department, construction official, obviously, for the building, and soil conservation through the Upper Delaware Conservation District. I also recommend that they have an as-built when the project's complete, so we can verify that, in fact, they've complied with any variances that the board may approve. And with regards to the road improvements and the utilities, what my suggestion and recommendation to the board is, because this is presumably going to be sold to other people, it's important to have the roadway done and the utilities available so that they sell one lot to Mr. and Mrs. X and another lot on the other side to Mr. and Mrs. Y, that in fact somebody's not stuck trying to do the road after the fact. So what I'm recommending to the board is that before a building permit is issued, that the roadway actually be constructed at least up to the bituminous stabilized base, and the utilities be extended to the point where they're ready for connection to the two homes. And then before CO is issued for the homes, that in fact, the final wearing surface be constructed on the roadway. Now, that's the one side of the road, board members. Looking at the report I did on April 1st, 2025, for block 32006, lots 5, 6, 7, and 8, at 2, 4, and 8 Elm Road. For all intents and purposes, just highlighting the things that might be just a tad different. Again, on page 2 with the zoning table, on that particular lot, and the applicant provided proofs on this at an earlier hearing. Front yard setback 50 feet minimum, they're proposing 18.8, which needs a variance. Rear yard setback 50 feet minimum, 20 feet is proposed, which needs a variance, which is about 16 feet by scaling to the rear stairs. And also the minimum lot width, 125 feet is needed. On Washington Drive, it's only 95.55 feet for a variance. Again, the variances are basically the same, the private road, and they had acquired as much property as they could. With regards to the storm drainage, the one thing different on this that I suggested, they again have provided dry well sizing calculations and dry wells for the additional impervious coverage for the dwelling and the driveway that they're putting on the lot. But it doesn't include the impervious area because of the roadway, Elm Road, excuse me. So one of my suggestions was, and the applicant's engineer may have another alternative, at the lower end of the subject property that we're talking about, they might be able to, since the road is all sloped that way, cross slope, come off that road, create a small easement at the lower end of the lot, and make a rain garden type of affair to help mitigate the increase in runoff, and then let it get back into the storm drainage system down on the lower street. I don't know if you have any comments on that.
No, I think that's a good idea. All the water drains that way. We have a swale. We could definitely swale it onto the property into some type of basin either.
Set up an easement for that.
Exactly, yep.
And that property owner would be responsible in the deed for that easement, for that drainage.
Yeah, and we'll work with Mr. Simmons on making sure that complies.
And then with regards to the architectural plans, we just discussed that as far as the HVAC units goes. The soil erosion and sediment control plan, that's shown on the plan. Again, well and septic is going to be taken care of through the county health department. And again, we talked about bringing the aerial utilities down. The same roadway we're talking about, Elm Road, is the same road I just talked about a minute ago under the other application. And again, what my recommendation is for that road to be constructed at least up to the bituminous stabilized base, and basically take that before there's a building permit issued, and then prior to a CO for a house, the final wearing surface being done. The same basic permits are being required, and as-built. And in both of the deeds for these properties, usually what we recommend in other municipalities and subject to the ward council, I'd also suggest the recommendation that it be included specifically a paragraph in the deed or a clause in the deed that the Township of Sparta does not own or maintain these roads, so there's no confusion or questions that may arise either now or in the future with a subsequent owner, so they realize Sparta Township's not going to be plowing the roads. Please don't ask, because it's going to be their responsibility if the board approves the application. And those are my reports, Mr. Chairman.
David, thank you for the detailed reports on both applications. I appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, the only comment that I would make, based upon Mr. Simmons' recommendations for the deeds, is that the deeds both say that both property owners are jointly liable for the maintenance of the road, so they can't point in either direction. You know, it's your responsibility. How they handle the payment is up to them, but I want them to both be jointly responsible.
All right, thank you, Louis.
Is that,
Chairman, there's no objection to
thank you.
any of these conditions.
Thank you. Marissa, you could call on the board members for their comments and questions, please.
Lana Teneri,
No questions right now.
Michael Joseph,
No questions.
Michael Leondi,
No, nothing else for me, thanks.
Richard Rohrbacher.
No questions at this time.
This is
Chair-
the only time, Richard.
I know. I know.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Not, no questions. Landon, now is everything
Yeah. no
okay with the
questions.
fire situation when we were covering all that at the last meeting? No other questions?
No other questions.
I now open the hearing to the public. If anyone's in the public, please come forward. Please give your name and address to the board secretary, sir.
Joseph Jones, real name not an alias, 37 Washington Drive.
Does he have to be sworn in, Louis, if he's
Return
going
the mic
to
back,
If
please.
he's,
Thank you.
ask a
if
question?
if he's asking questions, no. If he's
A little
if
bit
he's
closer.
making a statement, then yes.
I guess you have a few questions and a statement.
Well, one general,
So we'll swear him
I
in.
guess because
Yeah,
I didn't
can we swear you
understand
in
one
first?
comment. What was?
Oh, wait a minute, just,
or-
sir, he has to swear you in.
Oh, okay, very
You
good.
swear from the testimony that you're about to give in this matter shall be the truth under penalties of perjury?
I do.
Okay, and
Thank
please,
you.
please restate your address. I'm sorry.
Joseph Jones,
Yep.
37 Washington Drive.
Thank you.
So before I ask my main question, I heard you use the phrase, what is the site triangle at the corner of Elm and Washington?
Yeah, so it's almost as, you could call it almost like an easement. So it's a clear sight distance. So any vehicles that turn there, there's a distance there so you can have visibility down the road.
Okay, so my main question is, when you look at the current width of Elm, so I heard you say 20 feet?
Is what we're proposing in front of our
Okay.
site, yes.
So that means, so that 20 feet, will that expansion be on both sides equally from the middle of the road out?
Not equally. I think we try to center it as closely as possible. That road currently kind of jogs in and out.
No, I mean, when you, it's going to be expanded.
Correct.
Okay. How far on each side? Because my well cap is right up against that.
So there's, let me see here. On the west side, it expands a little bit more than it does on the east side.
So on the, my property, 37, how far do you think that's going to go? Because that's, like I said, my well cap is very close to Elm. And I'll have to measure that tonight. That's
So I'm sorry, which one's your property?
37 Washington Drive. So about the midpoint of Elm is where my well cap is on my side.
Expanding that, so.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes, so I assume you're on this property to the east? I don't have the addresses, I'm sorry.
Okay, so where is Elm on here?
Elm is here, this is Washington.
Okay, so if this is Washington,
I'm assuming you're.
okay, where's Dandelion in relation to this? So when you're coming up the hill, you're making a right, are you making a right?
Excuse me,
onto Washington?
Joseph, and you guys can use the microphone. It's a requirement from the state of New Jersey that everything be recorded properly.
I'm just gonna bring up, an aerial, this is exhibit A1.
This is Dandelion, Washington, where's Elm? So I've got this property.
Yeah, so we're actually not expanding the road that way. We're actually taking out some of that gravel.
Okay, so there'll be no impact to that.
No. So if you, it's hard to do with the distance.
So what will be lost on,
Please speak into the microphone.
oh, sorry.
Joseph, you want to take this microphone over there, please, so everything's recorded? You can, you can stay there? All right, go ahead.
So what side of Elm, if you're going up Washington and make a left into Elm, what side is that
So in
easement
front,
going?
the easement's on our side. It's on our property.
All right, very good. Like I said, I had to ask because my well cap is probably 5 feet from Elm. And if you expand that 20, you're doubling the width?
Yeah, so like I said, on the east side, on your side of the property, we're actually removing some of that gravel. That's where it kind of jogs towards your property and then back over.
Yep. When they piled it up and they put the steamroller where the big pile was, it went on my property well past the road, yeah.
Yep, so yeah, it should have no effect on your side.
All right,
We're-
very good.
We're expanding on the west side, and then as we get further to the north, and then it goes a little bit to the east, but not much.
Very good. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else in the public have any questions or comments in regards to this application? Please come forward. Seeing no one else in the public, now back to this board. Any other comments or questions from board members or attorney?
No.
David?
No,
All
sir.
right, thank you. All right, Mike. The board will entertain.
You have a hand raised over there.
Please come forward to the microphone.
Hi, I was at the last meeting, Jessica D'Agostino, not related to the store.
Can I
Of
swear
course.
you in?
Please give your
closer.
name and address to the board
Jessica-
secretary, and the attorney will swear you in.
Oh, Jessica D'Agostino, 12 Elm Road, Sparta Lake.
You swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in this matter shall be the truth under penalties of perjury?
I do.
Thank you.
I was just wondering where the septic for both properties is going to be in comparison to both Joe and my house is right next door as well, are wells.
Sure, so they're shown on our plan, so 2 and 8 Elm Road, which is the property to the west, shown right there in the box, so on the opposite side of the house. And the same with 5 to 13 Elm Road, which is the east side of Elm Road, is on the this side right here.
What street is that side?
Elm is here, Washington's on this side.
I just know that my well is very close to one of the properties, so I wanted to make sure it wasn't damaged at all.
Yeah, and obviously, any approval is subject to the county approving the distances from wells and septic.
Okay, and how far is Elm Road going to be paved from Washington to Deerfield or from
For the most part, from pavement to pavement, where the pavement starts and the pavement starts on.
at the end of the house, both of the homes, or is it going to go past the whole road?
So it's going to pretty much be from Washington. There's a driveway that comes off of Washington. So from there to the driveway, I believe where your dwelling is.
Which is 12L.
Correct, but we're not going to go past the driveway.
Okay. So it'll just be the milling that was pressed down.
Correct.
Okay.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else in the public? Seeing no one else in the public, it's now back to this board. Chair will entertain a motion approving application 3-23, John Maselli, Rocco Ciafulo, 5-13 Elm Road, Block 32004, lots 2, 3, 4, and 5 are for C variance relief.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, I'll take a stab at this. I'll make a motion to have the board attorney draft a resolution approving application number 3-23 as well as 4-23 for John Maselli and Rocco Ciafulo, block 32004, lots 2, 3, 4, and 5 at 5 through 13 Elm Street, as well as block 32006, lot 5, 6, 7, 8 at 2 through 8 Elm Street, seeking C variances for the combined lots on block 32004, a front yard setback of 20 feet where a 50-foot minimum is required, a rear yard setback of 31.9 feet where a 50-foot minimum is required, and a lot area of 19,000 where 25,000 a minimum is required. For combined lots on block 32006, we have a front yard setback of 18.8 feet where 50-foot minimum is required, a rear yard setback of 20 feet where 17.2 feet to the stairs, and a 50-foot minimum, or 20 feet where 50-foot minimum is required. I have a note left from January, sorry. And a minimum lot width of 95.55 feet at Washington Drive where 125-foot minimum is required. We've got some conditions. The applicant will maintain both sides of Elm Road in a 50-50 joint responsibility between the two assemblages, with that responsibility running with successor and title.
No, we're doing that as a joint responsibility, not 50-50.
Sorry, joint responsibility between the
50-50
two.
is between them as to who pays for what.
Right, sorry about that. The roadway will be constructed and extended to the driveway connection points prior to building permit issuance. That'll be the base course. And then prior to a CO being issued, we'll put the final wearing course in place. Sparta Township won't take any responsibility or ownership for Elm Road. You'll work with Mr. Simmons on a drainage swale and rain garden easement, and you'll adhere to the balance of the stipulations laid out in Mr. Simmons's report. That's based on all plans, specs, testimony presented here tonight, as well as the previous meeting on January 8th of 2025.
And I believe there was something with the utilities too, David, right, besides the road?
I've got some notes from last time. Maybe some of these have been addressed, but we're going to bring utilities to subject properties as required. We talked about the roadway. We got the letter from the fire department, right? Planning variance for Elm Road. Lake Association, we talked about that. Site Triangle, we talked about that. All required deed updates for lot assemblages. And we talked about obtaining the county health department approvals, verifying septic system locations and appropriate setbacks for local water wells. And of course, submitting as-built drawings.
Louis,
That's all I had.
do you have
guys.
anything else to add to that? Was everything covered or not?
I believe so, yes.
Covered?
Yes.
And then also, the motion is for you were doing both applications
I did
at
it
the same
both
time.
at once, yeah.
So let me just, for the record, also application 4-23 for C variance relief.
Right.
Does the chair have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Marissa, please call the roll.
Lana Teneri,
Yes.
Michael Joseph,
Yes.
Michael Leondi,
No.
Richard Rohrbacher,
Yes.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. Your application's been approved. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your submittals in regards to the application.
Thank you for your courtesies.
You're welcome. Good night. Application 15-24, Nancy Hodgkins, block 28002, lot 12, C variance relief. Please come forward.
Getting tables?
We did.
No, they're new. Yeah. Yeah. Nice, right? Yeah. Thanks for noticing.
Wireless.
Yes, you can just.
I will need you guys to swear. If you could find the microphone there. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Daniel Benkendorf from the law firm of Askin and Hooker, located in Sparta. Representing Nancy Hodgkins. If we could maybe have everybody sworn in and qualified as an expert, just to start, so that we can move right through testimony.
Sure. Everyone's-
Nancy, if you'll please stand up, come up to the microphone.
And you're an architect, engineer.
Yep. Here. Jeff.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this matter shall be the truth under penalties of perjury?
I do.
Right. First, come state your name and address, please.
Nancy Hodgkins, 7043 Broadway Street, Indianapolis, Indiana.
Jeffrey Hauser, Hauser Engineering, 1141 Greenwood Lake Turnpike, Ringwood, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Okay?
And we have an architect as well.
Oh, do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in this matter shall be the truth under penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and give us your address.
Frank Coulter, Coulter, Blueprint Engineering, 196 West Ashland Street, Doylestown, Pennsylvania, 18901.
Thank you.
How-
Qualify them as experts. Now I'll go through that.
Please.
All right. Mr. Hauser?
Sure. Earned my Bachelor of Engineering degree from Stevens Institute of Technology in Hoboken in 2003. I'm licensed in New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and New Jersey. Been licensed here in New Jersey since 2008. Worked for several firms before starting Hauser Engineering in 2009. I've appeared before numerous boards throughout northern New Jersey, though surprisingly, though I work in town quite often, this is my first appearance in front of this board.
And is your license current
It is,
and valid?
yes,
Thank you. Active is the word, I guess.
yes.
I offer him as an expert in the area of civil engineering.
Any questions from this board? Okay.
I earned my bachelor from Drexel University in architectural engineering back in 96. I'm been a licensed architect in New Jersey since 2006. I'm a professional engineer in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, 23 different states. I've been practicing architecture and engineering for approximately 25 years. I've testified in multiple states, including New Jersey. I have been in front of this board, but not as a professional.
Is your license active?
Yes, my
Thank you.
license is active in New Jersey. Both of them, the engineer and architect.
Thank you.
I offer him as an expert in the area of architecture.
All right, any questions from the board? Thank you.
Mr. Coulter, before you sit down, you do have personal knowledge of the property as well.
I do as well. I have a home on Hawthorne Lake as well.
All right, how can we help you?
Okay, so the property we're here to discuss tonight is 26 Hawthorne Lake Road. It's block 82002, lot 12. It's a 431.4 acre lot in the RR zone. It's currently developed with 29 homes. When I first saw this application, I was a bit perplexed. It was kind of odd to me. It was something I had never seen before. So the subject lot is, or the subject home is one of 29 homes that the last one of those homes was built in the 80s. This one that we're here to discuss tonight was built in the 30s, and my client will provide testimony to that. Most recently, back in 2022, 2023, one of the homes was demolished down to the foundation and then rebuilt. And I reference these things for the purpose of historical knowledge. The Lake Hawthorne Park Club was established in 1895. And essentially what it is, like I said, a over 400 acre lot where there were 29 homes built on that lot. And each one of the members owns a portion of the property itself. And some of those members also own a home located on that one lot. This evening, we're here to discuss 2 C variances. One is for the front yard must face an improved street. Hawthorne Lake community primarily sits on an unimproved street that services the community. And then no lot may contain more than one principal structure. Again, a C variance that we're asking for. Specifically with respect to this home, the applicant is before the board this evening because she'd like to put a 305 square foot addition on the home. Our architecture will testify to that. One of the main reasons is because there's currently not a full bathroom in the home, and the applicant has to walk out of the house, around the side of the house, down into the basement where there is a dirt floor so that she can take a shower. As a result of that, she is done. She doesn't want to do that anymore. And so she's here before the board this evening requesting these variances so that she can improve the home. So without further, actually, Nancy, you want to just stand up for a second? Come up to the microphone? Sure. You've heard what I've said this evening. Is that an accurate representation of the circumstances warranting us being here tonight?
Yes.
Okay, do you have any questions or changes to my testimony?
No.
Well, your testimony, but
No.
my recantation.
No.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Mr. Hauser, if you want to discuss the lot.
Sure. Council did a good job describing the property as a whole, over 400 acres. It's within the center of it lies Hawthorne Lake itself. The property is accessed from the north, and this particular dwelling, number 26, sits about 1.5 miles into the property. It is a gravel road. it is a seasonal community. I've done several projects in here, mostly septic replacement projects. So I know in the wintertime, this community is essentially shut down. The gate is closed and there is no access to it. But around this time of year is when it opens up. This property is served by a septic and well. The septic system was just replaced several years ago. We designed it. It's a modern system with advanced treatment and a pure flow system. The proposed 305 square foot addition, which essentially is going to increase the footprint of the house by 50% from a modest 662 square feet up to 955 square feet. The addition is to the southeast of the existing structure. Currently, there is a deck in that location that the addition will be built in place of, and then a new 171 square foot deck will be to the southeast of the new addition. From a bulk perspective, being 400 acres, we don't have any issues with setbacks, with lot area, lot width, lot frontage, front yard setbacks, side yard setbacks, rear yard setbacks. We're hundreds of feet away from the actual property line. From an impervious coverage standpoint, we're only increasing the impervious coverage by 112 square feet in total. So it's a modest increase. Nowadays, anytime we are working on a property that is essentially within 300 feet of a water body, we always take a look at potential NJDEP regulations. They do come into play here. We did check the GeoWeb. There are no freshwater wetlands in the immediate vicinity that we feel would impact this project. However, Hawthorne Lake itself is just to the northeast of our dwelling, but projects like this qualify for something called a permit by rule because we don't exceed certain thresholds. So specifically with the addition, because this addition is more than 25 feet away from the edge of the water body, and because it's less than 400 square feet, because we're not below the flood hazard elevation, it is eligible for what's called a permit by rule number 12. And then the second permit by rule has to do with the deck. Those same criteria, we're not within 25 feet of the top of bank of the lake, and we're not within the flood hazard, below the flood hazard elevation. So those are essentially, a permit by rule is essentially an exemption of sorts. You just state the fact. We don't have to apply to anything from the state. It's just a known fact. So we have that information on the plan and detailed it. We're also in the Highlands Preservation Area. As a very modest addition here, we believe we're eligible for exemption number 5, which we would apply for, assuming we were fortunate enough to get approval here this evening. In terms of there are no proposed improvements to the driveway or to the walkways or anything of that magnitude. It's strictly the addition to the southeast. We are proposing a silt fence during construction to try to protect the lake. We are not disturbing over 5,000 square feet, so it doesn't warrant soil conservation district, but we will implement soil erosion and sediment control measures during construction. That's all. Okay. That's all I have in terms of an overview. If anybody has any questions.
I can move forward with the architect's,
Yes.
testimony, and then we can have questions or.
After you're completed the application,
Okay.
so you can go.
Want to switch seats? That's the same plan that you submitted to the board, right, Mr. Hauser?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter, do you have any plans or were they all submitted?
I do have plans, and I apologize, I've been traveling. I have 2 copies. They are infinitesimally small. I kind of brought them for my own edification, but if the board would like to see them, you certainly may.
Have they been submitted already?
They have been submitted, right? Yeah.
They have been submitted.
With the application.
Okay.
But they haven't been changed since then?
No, they have not.
Okay.
So being a fellow homeowner on Hawthorne Lake, and Nancy knowing that I was both an architect and engineer, she came to me and proposed improving her home to basically give her proper facilities on the living level. Also, she has her laundry facilities are also down in the dirt basement. So we came up with the plan. Since the dawn of COVID, obviously, many people work from home. Her adult son and daughter both have that capability. So she was interested in adding a home office where they would be able to come, during the summer and work from there, and then improve the home by adding the laundry facilities upstairs as well as, excuse me, a full bath. So that's basically what we came up with the small addition. The 305 square feet will contain a small hallway with an entry door, a little laundry area, of the full bath, and then a home office.
And the addition will not be used as a bedroom or anything of the type?
As far as I know, no. That is a
Not
home
as far
office.
as you know.
The intent is to be a home office.
Do you have architectural plans with that, sir?
I do. There are two, I did bring 2 copies, and again, I said,
Was
I
that-
I
does that-
apologize
They
that
don't
they are
have
so
to be
small.
marked, correct?
If they were submitted with the application, no.
Did everyone get the plans and the applications? Okay.
You just want to identify the date on those? 5/20, right, latest revision. Okay. Do you want the full copy?
That one.
Looks like Richard has it.
I have a
Could
pair,
you
I
have
have
a
a pair of readers if anyone needs them.
My test, my eyes.
I don't want to get too friendly, but I might as well.
Yeah, I was traveling, I was like, oh.
You should have just,
Then I'll go back to my
and I apologize for that.
Yeah, that one's on me, not on Nancy. The small plan. Yeah, you have the 11 by 17s.
Do you want me to go grab like from my office?
No, we're good.
Good?
This is the same thing we have
Here,
here.
Mike. It's pretty cut and dry.
You should be so kind to go through the explanation and
Ju-
so
Yes,
forth.
as I said, it's a 305 square foot addition. On the lake side of the home, that's where the home office will be. It'll be separated by a small entry hallway with a coat closet. Being built in the early 1930s, the home does not have many closets to, put anything in, quite honestly. And then on the other side of the hallway, there's a small laundry facility that'll have a stacked washer and dryer.
Excuse me, what page was that
Be
on?
on
sir?
A1, I think it's A100, A1. Okay,
A1.
A1?
Thank you.
Absolutely. As I said, there'll be a small, stacked washer and dryer, laundry closet, and then on the back side of that will be the stand-up shower, water closet and lavatory in the bathroom.
Good question.
Where's the bedroom?
There is no bedroom.
No bedroom.
No bedroom, home office.
Where's the existing bedroom?
Oh, they're in the existing home. The existing home is 2 stories. There are 3 bedrooms upstairs.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah, sorry. That only shows the addition. It doesn't show the full home.
There's going to be no adjustment of any walls or anything on the second floor?
No, this is strictly a single-story addition.
I have another plan if anybody would like. I brought one with me, actually.
No, we're good, Marissa,
You're
thank
good?
you.
Do you want it? Do you need it?
Oh, sure, just in case. All right.
No, you give it back when you're done. You can have it. Like. Is that the one? That's the one. Sorry. Sorry.
Where are you going to be putting the deck? I don't see it on the plans.
We did not, at the time that I did these, the deck was not included, so I do not have plans for the deck at this time.
Wait for the deck without it.
Want to explain it? What the deck, what you expect the deck to look like?
It should be, it's going to be located on the lake side of the home, and will extend out from the home office.
What is the square footage of that?
I believe it's 170.
The new deck will be essentially what the current deck is.
If you want to come up to the
Come,
microphone.
come to the microphone, please.
The new deck will be essentially the size of the current deck. It's just pushed out a little bit.
The front deck?
Side.
Side deck.
The front of the house is where the home office is, or?
The whole thing is going to be on the side of the house.
Maybe you could explain a little bit better. We're not architects. We'll have to explain what's on these plans.
Yeah.
There you go.
So this is the proposed addition in the dark gray. Home office will be located here. There's a small hallway passing through. Bathroom located on the back, in the back corner. And then the proposed deck will be to the side.
And where's the road?
The road is up here.
Okay.
off on Lake Road.
Maybe when we get to David's report, it'll be a little bit more clearer.
Are you ready, Mr. Chairman?
No, not,
Okay.
when we get, when
Okay.
we
Yeah,
get to.
the lake is down here.
So the lake is south of, north of the home office?
East, northeast of the home office, the lake is.
Lake is gonna be over here. Yeah. Here's this.
Here you go, guys.
Oh, wait, this is pointing north. So
Right here, though, so.
Here's the parcel, here's the roadway. Okay. Here's the road.
This application, okay.
So it's kind of like this, but on the plan. Helpful for you, but.
No, it helps. Excuse us, we're just looking at some information on our chairman's computer in terms of the application.
Yeah, here's,
So here's the lake. It's all kind of lake.
Okay.
Here's the road. So it kind of goes up that way.
what materials are the deck gonna be made of? Materials,
I believe it'd be composite wood.
composite wood? What are the dimensions of the deck?
171 square feet, I do not
No, no.
have the exact,
Within-
I do not have the exact width and depth.
Can you do that calculation, please, Ty? Or Jeff?
It is 10 by 17.
I think it's important to note, too, that the existing deck is 207 square feet, and the proposed deck is 171 square feet. So it's actually going to be reducing the size of the deck.
And that will not be covered, correct?
No,
The deck?
no.
Thank you. So any other testimony to be submitted?
Not at this time.
Nancy, you have any other comments you'd like to add?
I,
Thank you.
I would like a shower. I have a toilet and a sink in my house. I would like a shower in the house. My kids live in Switzerland and Cambodia, respectively, and they can come to the lake, which I use 3 months out of the year, for a couple weeks, and they can work from home. But my daughter has a 1 and a 2-year-old, and they need an office to do that. So I'm trying to provide that. That's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now we'll open it to our board engineer. David, please, with your report.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. For the record, referring to the report we prepared dated April 1st, 2025. As the applicant indicated, they're basically doing the addition for an office, deck, and a bathroom. Going on to page 2, we are in the R rural residential zone. And as Mr. Hauser pointed out earlier, we're on basically a 449-plus acre parcel of land. So I agree with his zone table that we're not near any property lines. So setbacks and what have you aren't an issue there because basically, as I understand the development created over 100 years ago, it's basically on one piece of property, not separate individual lots. With regards to access, again, this is one of those locations where you have to go someplace. You can't get there from here, if you will. I actually had to go to Ogdensburg up Edison Road and then in about 1.5 miles in the gravel driveway to get to the subject property. They are cutting down, there are some existing dwellings, as they pointed out. Again, the proposed disturbance is less than 5,000 square feet, but I do recommend, because of the steepness of the lot and the relative close proximity to Hawthorne Lake, that they implement the soil erosion and sediment controls. And on Mr. Hauser's plan, he does show a silt fence circumscribing the active area of the subject property, so I believe that's appropriate in this particular case. Probably the biggest thing I'm concerned about on this is the access to the property and how it's handled on a year-round basis. Again, I literally, when I left Edison Road and came into the subject property, it's about 1.5 miles. And it's basically a gravel driveway that varies in width, primarily based on what I saw, 1 vehicle wide. So when we get to the end of my report, I'd like to hear some more testimony, if it's all right with the board, just when the community is open, who's responsible for maintenance. Again, just worrying about emergency vehicles getting to the subject property, God forbid if there was ever an emergency situation that should arise. I believe they do have to go to the Highlands and hopefully will qualify for an exemption. With regards to the well and the septic, again, Mr. Hauser's firm did the updated septic system. I saw that when I was out there at the site, and there's no new bedrooms being added. And as the board chairman said, the porch is not going to be enclosed, so there shouldn't be any additional bedrooms or anything added on to that. That would adversely impact the capacity of the septic system. There's electric to the site. With regards to storm drainage, Sparta Township does have their ordinance that if you're increasing the impervious by more than 500 square feet, you're supposed to provide mitigation. But in this case, between the deck and the addition, you're at about 449 square feet, plus you're right there by the lake, so mitigation isn't required by the ordinance in this particular case. There's no new bedrooms being added. I did point out that one other improvement under the crawl space, the architectural plans call for a concrete slab, a rat slab, to be poured under the house. So that's a good improvement. And my understanding, and the applicant can confirm, that there's no plans to utilize that crawl space other than for storage and access to the bottom of the house should it be necessary. There was no EIS provided for the application, but again, there was a plan that was submitted to the county health department to get the permits to upgrade the septic system on the subject property. And I reviewed with our wetlands person in our office the permit by rules that are noted on Mr. Hauser's plan, and we generally agree with them in this particular case because of the proximity away from Hawthorne Lake. I noted some of the approvals that would be required, the county health department, just to verify the well and septic capacity for what they're doing, to keep their records up to date. Obviously, building permits from the township construction department. You've received a report from the fire department with regards to DEP, the permit by rules, and the Highlands Council. And as we do with most recommendations for most applications, suggest that a as-built plan be provided upon completion of the project, assuming the board grants favorable approval on it. But the biggest thing, having said all that, the applicants covered most of my points. The biggest thing I'd suggest the board hear more testimony on is the access to the site when it's shut down for the winter, or just how that operates in this facility because of being able to get emergency vehicles, God forbid, if there was an emergency.
Sure, David. And what did you think about the fire prevention report from the fire department here in town?
Basically, I think the fire department realized is that, as was testified here tonight for the first time that I heard, I guess this was built, established around 1895. I heard that date. So we've been doing this for over 100 years, 130 years roughly. And he realized that it's an existing situation with 20 some odd homes. I won't say that geometrically it's possible for a fire truck or emergency vehicle to maneuver around the corners and what have you. And I did not see any areas of the existing gravel driveway that were soft, if you will, that would not support the weight of an emergency vehicle. Again, the concern I have is, and I don't know as he brought it up or not in his report, what about the wintertime? Is it plowed? Is snow removal, ice and snow removal, just so emergency vehicles can get in? Or is it in fact shut down for the wintertime and no one comes to the area, so that becomes a moot point? That's what I think the board needs to hear about.
You hear the concerns of our board. Engineer, if you can address them, please.
Yeah, this evening we have the vice president of the club here to discuss exactly that. So Steve, if you'll please stand, please swear in. State your name, put the full name for the record.
Good job.
Hi, Stephen Garcia, STEPHEN GARCIA, and I live at 21 Berkeley Road, Millburn, New Jersey, and have a house at Lake Hawthorne. I'm currently the vice president on the board and was treasurer for 10 years prior to that.
Hey,
Do you-
David, can you move that microphone a little closer to the gentleman? Oh, thank you.
Is that better?
Yep.
Yes.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in this matter shall be the truth under penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so why don't you talk about what happens in the wintertime with respect to the community?
Sure. So in the wintertime, we close the gate. There are two residents who live at Hawthorne Park Club year-round, but the remaining 27 other houses are largely unoccupied. So there's really very little activity at all up there between, September and May over the course of the year.
If there is a snowstorm, what happens?
So there's DVS plowing, plows our roads when there's a snowstorm. So we have them on contract. They've done that work for us since before I was treasurer. So for the last, 15 or so years. And they plow for every storm we have.
So regardless of the fact that the majority of the homes are closed, the roads are still maintained and open during the winter?
The plowing goes about halfway around the lake, so we don't plow the full distance around the lake, only to where the homes are occupied.
Where the homes are occupied?
Over the course of the winter, yes.
What about the maintenance of the road itself? Who is responsible for that? And how often is the road repaired? How do you determine that the road needs repair? Those types of things.
So we have a committee made up of members and volunteers that is responsible for maintaining the road. The club makes periodic road improvements. We assess members for those road improvements and work with local contractors to, anything that we can't handle ourselves with our own tractor, we contract for that work to be done. We have had the Sparta Fire Department has been up there before on those roads with their big truck, pumping water from the lake. That's certainly happened in the last, 8 or so years. And we do have, we're a tree farm, so we have to have really large timber trucks up there that use the full road. They're, I don't know their weight relative to a fire truck, but they're, very big and loaded with, large trees.
Okay. Thank you for that testimony.
Sir, if you're so kind, could you have Mr. Garcia look at this for a few seconds? And maybe he
You want-
could address
You want to
those.
identify what it is?
The fire report from
Okay, thank you.
Mr. McIntyre. Maybe you could address each one of those, sir?
Sure. So, I've not seen this before today. So,
We just got it today, so take your time to review it.
Okay, so I'm not familiar with the width of the road at all locations. I'd have to, I'd have to go and check that. That's certainly, two cars can pass each other on the road. I mean, that's a frequent occurrence. So I'd have to check and see though exactly how many feet it is at various points. So so that's in reference to the first bullet, but I do know it's at least 2 cars wide. I'm not sure about the imposed loads from the fire trucks to bullet point number 2. I don't know exactly what that, those loads would be. Again, we do have the timber trucks up there, which are as big as a fire truck and loaded with, really large trees. And when we've done the septic systems up there, we have big backhoes and gravel trucks, that are bringing gravel in. So I'd have to think that the roads are capable of supporting those loads.
If the board looked kindly upon the application this evening, would you be open to the possibility of a fire truck coming up there to make sure that they can access all areas of the community?
Yeah.
And that the roads are supportive of the weight of the fire trucks?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think it's in the members' interest that the fire trucks
and-
can access.
And
all
in the
homes.
event that there was an issue found, would you maintain the road or correct that issue on the road to accommodate the fire truck?
So it would require a vote of the membership, but I feel confident that the membership would vote in favor of ensuring that, emergency vehicles of all types can reach whatever house needs those services, as quickly as possible.
Yes, our board attorney.
I don't know that we can compel the association to
Sure.
do anything. I think that maybe what you can do is condition the approval upon the fire department being satisfied as to the access and leave it up to, if fire department's not satisfied and they don't make the association doesn't make the improvements, then the applicant can't move forward with her addition.
I think that's acceptable to my client, absolutely.
That's,
It's for the benefit of all.
that's acceptable, Nancy? Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Sure.
David, now, you had some comments on their responses to,
My understanding,
brought
Mr.
up.
Chairman, is that for the most part, the roadways are not going to be open in the wintertime, with the exception of a couple of houses, and access in the wintertime to those 2 houses would be provided by a contractor who would be some snow plowing and sanding and salting the road for them to get emergency access.
Then I understood it differently than you did. I thought that was said that the roads are plowed up until the lake so there's access to all the houses.
It's the 2 homes, I think the testimony was that there are 2 homes that are year-round, And it's plowed up to access of those 2 homes, not the remaining homes that are
Okay.
not accessed. That's the correct, yeah, that's correct.
It's becomes an issue with if there's an emergency, a fire emergency or something at one of the other homes.
Separate from the homes that are occupied, like
Yes,
the
you know,
unoccupied
if there's a
homes.
fire, what is that going to do if the fire department can't get there?
So I might need to talk to my client about that. That might be something that they have to take back to their board as well.
All right, well,
Yeah.
Let me. I don't mean to speak for the board, and I know your client came in from out of town, and it's a major travel for her, but, what the board, and what the board may want to consider is finishing all the testimony tonight and not taking action tonight, and allowing the applicant through her attorneys and her professionals to investigate this further and come back to a subsequent meeting to address these issues.
I agree with you, Mr. Carp.
I mean, it's up to the board, but I just
I
suggest.
do just want to point out the last paragraph in the fire department's letter, where it notes in bold print that the following are only recommendations and should not be a deciding factor in the approval or denial of the application. Their words. I just want to make note of that in case it wasn't clear for everybody.
No, thank you, Mike.
Because if we're going to punt to the fire department to investigate and make it a condition of approval, I think that puts them in a position they are sort of outlining here they don't want to be in.
Well, something they might have to get involved with, since something could happen up there, and I think you understand
Yeah,
that,
can
too,
I have
so-
a moment to speak with
Yeah,
my
sure,
client?
sure.
Just,
Please.
Confused how a fire truck even gets, unless it comes from office or, because Mount Edison, there's no way a fire truck can make that sharp turn into Horton. It is so sharp.
They mentioned it on there,
And not to mention,
the history.
the amount of time
Westwood
Yeah.
offices in Bergen.
That's what it sounded like. She does everything down there. I was like, oh, wow.
All right, sorry for the delay. Thank you for your accommodation. So yeah, we'll have to go to the board to discuss the matter in further detail, and we'll have to talk to the fire marshal again about this. We were hoping not to have to plow to the end of the road because nobody's living in those homes, but we'll talk to the board, we'll talk to the fire marshal and see what he says.
That would be great.
Okay.
And then your applicant will not have to come back. Or attorney, if you want to explain that one more time for the public.
Yeah,
Louis?
what we're, we understand that the applicant is coming in from out of town, and it's a major undertaking. So what I had said, what the board, what I'm suggesting is that you finish the testimonies, particularly of your client. We'll open to the public tonight, so that she doesn't necessarily have to come back, but you bring the professionals back who are more local, with whatever you have at the next meeting. We'll carry it to the next meeting without notice. And if you're not ready for the next meeting, we can continue to carry it, I suppose, to subsequent meetings. Let me just finish, and then you can, and then they can vote at that time. The board can vote at that time to give you the chance to work this out. Because to me, it's a concern. Just if the fire department, if a house burns down, if fire starts in a house, and it could be because of electrical, short or something like that. I don't know how it's heated, or, well, it has to be heated, I guess, for the water, unless you have,
Yeah, I think they're shut down. They are shut down. The pipes are cleared and they're closed for the winter.
but electricity turned off also?
I assume at the breaker box. But I'll find all those answers out.
Yeah,
you know.
and, I mean, if you're 200, 300, 400 feet away from the next house, and there's testimony that it can't cause a problem, then that may be a factor also. When you're on 60-foot lots and the houses are so close to each other, fire is a concern.
Yep, we'll deal with it.
Okay.
We understand the issue. Are there any other questions for our
I
experts?
think
or-
your applicant,
Yep.
Nancy, you wanted to say something or not?
I was just going to say that there's no HVAC in any of the homes
Okay.
around me. All the pipes are drained and the power's turned off. So
Is the power still in the line, the overhead lines?
I'm sure.
Yeah, so that's, get a squirrel up there that
Mhm.
starts something, causes embers to fly, and starts the house on fire, things like that.
Okay.
It's more.
Yeah, I don't want to get off. Let's just, we'll kick it down the road and we'll
Thank you.
take care of it at the next meeting. I think I'll have a better handle on it.
Thank you.
We only got the report today, so.
Understood. Marissa, when's the next meeting in May, please?
May 14th.
May 14th. So you're okay for the application to be carried to May 14th?
That's okay. I think that we'll be able to clear up the experts' testimony this evening unless Mr. Hauser might need to come back for engineering purposes regarding the fire. But other than that, we won't need the architect, right?
Well, I'm not talking for the board, but you may want to bring him back with a plan to show the deck that's not on the existing plans.
Sure.
And that will certainly make it easier for the board to.
I can tell you, I will not be available on the 14th. I'll be on a boat in Lisbon.
Good for you. Do you want them to, does the board want them to add the deck to show the
Sure,
plans?
Right, David?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want to carry this to June then?
If you need me here, I will submit plans for the deck, a revised plan, but if you feel that I'm going to need testimony,
Oh.
I'm not going to be able to until June.
What do you think of that?
Can do it,
David?
right? Yeah, our engineer can go over the plans, the deck plans.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
So carry,
So
so
maybe-
why don't we finish the testimony tonight, especially for Mr.
Colton.
Colton and for Ms.
Hodgkins.
Hodgkins, and let the public ask any questions, and then if unless there's anything else that Mr. Askin wants to add, you can adjourn it, we'll carry it to the meeting of
Sure.
May 14th without further notice.
I think everything was
You will-
covered tonight for the time being.
Yes.
Right,
Nancy,
okay.
anything else? All right.
See, the board should ask questions and then open it to the public.
Did the board have any other questions, or
I have
I think you were all okay, right?
I have some questions.
Oh, you did? All right. Marissa, if you can call on the board members, please?
Sure.
Landon Teneri.
No question in particular about the actual proposal, the plan, just on the concept of when you guys come back. I don't know the protocol, maybe this is just a general question, but when we're dealing with municipalities that are nearby and could have to use their services, what's the protocol for maybe getting a report from a neighboring municipality as well?
It should be covered. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's a great question because Ogdensburg has been the ones to respond to any emergency calls. So what I'll do with that question, because I think it's very valid, I will go to Ogdensburg and I will confirm as well.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
That's all I have.
Michael Josephic.
Yeah, so again, on the whole fire safety situation, so you're saying that Ogdensburg is the department that responds?
Sometimes, yes.
Sparta?
Most recently, Ogdensburg were the ones that
And
responded.
if it is Sparta, do you know, I mean, I don't know, do they have like a plan or like a, do you know from what direction they approach the the Hawthorne Lake? Because I know if you come from, I don't know the direction, but from the top of Edison Road, I mean, from a fire truck coming from the station on Glen, going down Edison, I mean, you're talking the amount of time, and then once you get to the Hawthorne Lake, to make that left turn, I can't imagine how it does that. So that's why I was curious as to, is it Ogdensburg and they're the ones primarily responsible?
So I'll contact both fire departments and maybe I'll be able to meet them out there that we can, look at the circumstances and further discuss it.
Okay. Yep, thank you.
Michael Leondi.
Nothing else for me, thank you.
Richard Rohrbacher.
No questions at this time.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
No questions, Marissa.
Okay.
I'll now open it to the public. Anyone has any comments or questions, please come forward. Now close to the public and back to the board, and as we are doing, the application's being carried to the May meeting without any further notice. Okay, gentlemen?
Yes. Thank you
Thank you
very
for
much,
everything.
everyone.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. The board will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. David, thank you for your reports tonight and everything.
Mr. Chairman and board members, I'd just like to thank you for the new table.